My name is Ryan. I'm the owner and founder of a golf apparel brand called Palmetto and Pine Golf Company. It's based entirely around highlighting golf here in the Carolinas. In the last year, I've been to over 50 different golf courses, and I created this interview series to not just only highlight the golf courses, but learn about the people that truly make the Carolinas special. So welcome to Pine Talk. Welcome back to Pine Talk. I am here at Carolina Club with Doug Kinser, the director of golf for here and the Point Golf Club in the Outer Banks. Doug, can you walk me through how did you get into golf and how did that lead to you being here in the Outer Banks?
So, you know, really got bit by the golf bug when I was in college. And if you experience that, you just can't get enough of it. Um, being a business major, I thought, well, maybe I could pair the business major with something that I, love and passionate about. Um, so I happened to run into a buddy of mine from high school. We played college or high school golf together, and he was working at a golf course. And at the time, the Carolinas PGA section used to send out a newsletter each month, and this was before the internet, so it was actual snail mail. But anyway, in this newsletter each month, there would be almost like a job postings, and I sent out resumes to all the kind of entry level postings that were in that edition, and uh, ended up hearing back from the folks at the Point, and came up to interview. It worked out to where they offered me the job, and that was in 1995, and I've been here ever since.
That's awesome. It's always interesting how those things kind of work out. You get that in the mail. Now you spend the rest of your life, to this point here. That's
Right.
awesome. So
Yeah.
talk to me. So I guess we were talking before, and you said you had never been to the Outer Banks prior to here. So kind of talk to me about what were your first impressions, coming here, and what are your like favorite things about the Outer Banks?
Well, coming here for the first time, yeah, I had never been to the Outer Banks prior to coming out to interview, and pretty much focusing on this job. Uh, where I grew up, when we talked about going to the beach, yeah, that was we're referring to Myrtle Beach area. So, when I got here, obviously at the time, a little bit starstruck. Wow, this is I potentially could be living at the beach, and that was just so cool. And I was so excited. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, when you live at the beach, you don't get to go as much as you would like. But no, super excited to move here, and it reminds me a little bit of home, in the sense that I grew up in a small town, and the Outer Banks is a small community. Uh, the community is very supportive of its residents, and we're it just has that feel of home to me. And again, being here for nearly 30 years, it now is home. Um, but it's really a special place to live for sure.
And I'll say I have a very similar feeling when it comes to the Outer Banks, just because I grew up, my dad's in the Coast Guard. And so because I've always grown up around these beach towns, every time I come to the Outer Banks, it does have that kind of, I love the kind of small town, beachy feel to it. Yeah, something about it does feel homey.
Right. Yeah. Not we don't have as much commercialization as you find in a Myrtle Beach, per se. So a lot of locally owned businesses, locally owned restaurants in particular. That's something else that is nice about this area. So a lot of good seafood, and locally owned businesses and restaurants. So
So as the director of golf for, both here at Carolina Club and the Point Golf Club, what does your typical kind of day-to-day look like?
well, it's a lot like, I'm sure, a lot of other golf pros. One of the things that I've always tried to do is kind of lead by example. So I'm in the trenches, so to speak. I'm in the pro shop. I'm answering the phones. I'm booking tee times. I'm checking in golfers. One of the big things that I do is tee sheet management. So, being a public facility, especially in kind of a touristy area, the tee sheet management, I mean, it's make or break. That's what can make or break your season. If you don't manage your tee sheet properly, you could potentially lose out on revenue. So my goal is to manage that tee sheet, pairing singles, pairing twosomes together. Um, and to do that, and I try to train the staff to do that as well, to maximize revenues. But at the same time, what's really important, and we also put an emphasis on this, is making sure that in doing that we don't compromise the experience of the golfer. So we'll do things like we'll build a starter times ad, so that if we happen to get a group that is running late, people are on vacation, sometimes life happens, and they miss their tee time, or they're running late for their tee time. If we have it puts our schedule gets behind schedule. If we have a starter time built in, we can eventually catch up. And one of the things that we do sometimes in the peak season is we'll do a double tee start off the front and the back. Um, Golfers that aren't familiar with that might think that we're trying to overbook the golf course. That's not the case. But the tee sheet management is huge. One of the biggest things that I do, as well as our staff. And then I've got office work. I've got emails. I've got scheduling. I've got planning. Communication with the entire all the departments, superintendent, maintenance, food and beverage, as well as the golf staff, and the owner. I work directly with the owner, and so communication is super.
And so you've been in this career for 30 years. What would you say was the most rewarding part of what you do?
Well, you know, uh, as a PGA professional, I think one of the blanket answers that you will hear a lot of times is, growing the game, promoting the game of golf, which, we all get into this business because we love the game of golf. My pathway is a little different, in the sense that I don't really teach or give lessons. I do have a head of instruction, director of instruction, that handles that area for us. But I'm more of a manager, so to speak. But one of the most rewarding things is just trying to build and operate our staff with a team atmosphere, and kind of preach that. The I think we have a lot of folks in our company, between the two golf courses, with a lot of longevity. And as you mentioned, I've been here 30 years. Our superintendent, at the Point, our sister course, he's been with the company 30 plus years. He was actually with the owner, had a turf company prior to golf. So our superintendent there was with the turf company. Michelle, who works here with us at Carolina Club, she's been with us for 25 years. We've got our head of instruction. He's been with us for 20 years. So I think that says a lot about the culture and the work environment. And to me, I mean, this is a locally owned, family business, and it's so rewarding to be able to work with great staff. It's almost like we're family.
That's awesome. And so one of my favorite things to ask about, whether it's wildlife or just something you've seen or just something that you personally thought this was so cool, this was memorable. What is the most memorable? What's maybe the craziest, funniest, coolest? What's been kind of a highlight of your career?
Gosh, that's hard one to answer. We had one comes to mind here at Carolina Club. This is many years ago. We had a large outing, and we had a gentleman who had two aces on the same day, he aced, I believe, if my memory serves, it was number 2, and then he hit it again on 17. So, I wasn't manning the hole to see if, to verify it, but that was the story, and that was pretty incredible to have the same person make 2 aces in the same day on the same golf course.
I want to. I really want to. What are the statistical odds
Oh
of that
gosh,
happening? It's got to be. I hope that guy went and bought a lottery ticket or something because
that's
holy
yeah,
cow, that's nuts.
that's what we said. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But we've at our other golf course, we've had, we're kind of in a rural area, and we've had a neighbor who had livestock, cows. We had a cow end up on the golf course at our other course, the Point. But no, here at the Carolina Club, we've wildlife wise, we've had black bear, deer, foxes. Um, so nothing too terribly crazy.
Yeah. So let's talk Carolina Club. Let's dive into it. What do you think? What makes this place unique?
Uh, well, first and foremost, the golf course is extremely playable. Um, uh, Conditioning is always kind of been we've always tried to put a premium on course conditioning, and we're doing things to make the course even more playable. When the course was first designed, it was back in a time where golf courses were being built, and you were always trying to make it super challenging, trying to outdo the next guy. Uh, but as the USGA came out with a program a few years ago called Tee It Forward, have more fun, play faster. So we're trying to make golf fun. It's a hard enough game as it is. So we've done things like we've removed some bunkering, widened fairways in certain areas. But the playability, the conditioning of Carolina Club, the staff, we've uh, been fortunate enough to have won some golf advisor awards. I think this has been a few years ago, but we were at number 3, I believe, one year, friendliest course in the U.S. Another year, we were in the top 20. So the staff is awesome. Southern charm, that's kind of what we're going after, Southern hospitality. But the golf course itself, is kind of a little bit of a hidden gem as well. Kind of makes it a little bit special, in the sense that it's the furthest course out from the Outer Banks. So it is the furthest for folks to have to drive to, but it's certainly well worth the drive. I mean, the conditioning here, we sometimes use the slogan, room for the pro, but available to the public, because plush fairways, excellent greens, and just again a fun course to play. So folks that do play it, I think a lot of times they're glad they did. We actually had a guy come in the pro shop earlier today that finished up, and we asked how it was going, and he said he wished that he had found this place sooner. So when we hear things like that, it really really makes us feel good.
And that's, I think you talking about, like not just like, yeah, you want to get more people involved in the game, but and how can you do that? Well, you make the course a little bit easier, and that's somebody, a family comes out here on their vacation, and it turns into some kid remembers, yeah, my dad took me to Carolina Club for the first time and played it, and I loved it, kind of thing. That's how you hook somebody.
Exactly.
But just as simple as making the course more playable. That's fascinating. I don't think I've heard that before, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things there. People only have so much time to spend on golf, and especially when they're here on the Outer Banks and they're on vacation. They don't want to be on the golf course for 5-6 hours. So we've got two playable layouts. Our pace of play is usually pretty good. Not to say that we can't have off days. We're not perfect, but we do our best to try to give a good experience. A 4 hour, 15-minute round. For resort golf, even 4.5 hours, which is a little bit longish for us, but in the big picture, 4.5 hours for resort golf is pretty darn good. So again, and when people, score well, if the golf course is playable, hopefully they score well. It makes them want to come back. So, we have that same philosophy at our, sister course, The Point, and we've been very fortunate to build, this reputation over the years, not only with the resort golfers, but especially with the local community.
That's awesome. So I guess talk to me. What hole here at Carolina Club do you think best exemplifies like the course as a whole? We're sitting on number 7, which is kind of your guys' island green, which obviously that's always a fascinating hole to play. So kind of what
Right.
hole comes to mind for that?
Well, I would say the this hole here, number 7, would kind of be like our signature hole. It's the island green, par 3. It's kind of like Sawgrass. People relate to that. It's probably one of the most famous island greens there is. But I like number 9. Number 9 is a par 5. Um, that's a really good risk reward. It is reachable into depending on wind conditions, um, but it is all carryover water if you're going to go for the green in too. Otherwise, you lay up to a landing area, and then your third shot is over water. But yeah, you can make an eagle, or you can make a double bogey. But number 9, again, good risk reward. Finishing hole on the front line.
So for someone that's never played here before, what are the kind of is there any tips, tricks, kind of things to know before coming out here?
Well, one thing to know is that even though this is the most inland golf course in the area, believe it or not, we get some wind here. We got a little bit of breeze today. You can kind of feel it. It feels good.
Yeah.
But pay attention to the wind. Take enough club. We are here on the coast. We're pretty much at sea level, so the ball doesn't travel like it might, for someone who comes from the mountains or higher elevations. Some folks might find that they don't carry the ball as far here. So take enough club. And one of the biggest things we always try to preach is play the right set of tees for your ability. Just because your buddy might be more skilled and has the ability to play from a set of tees further back, play from a set of tees that is really going to make it so that you can have a great time. So that whole tee it forward campaign, we like to go with that as well.
So talk to me about the sister course, The Point. Kind of what are the compare and contrast those two.
That's a good question. We get that a lot. So the Carolina Club here is it's a little more spread out, the layout. Okay, it's as you can see, it winds through a housing community, but there's plenty of buffer between the houses and the golf course. So it's not like when you're standing on a tee box that you feel like houses are encroaching on you. So you can still kind of let it rip a little bit. Generous fairways. Really at both places, but here at Carolina Club, the golf course is a little more spread out. The terrain of the land that we had to work with here, I think was a little better, where The Point is relatively flat. We've got a little more undulation here, a little more mounding. You just get a feeling that you're on a bigger golf course. The green complexes here are a little bit larger than we have at The Point. The par fives, I would say, here are maybe a little more gettable than at The Point, believe it or not, as far as reaching them in two. But no, it's the two courses complement each other well, and for folks that haven't ever been here, I think they're kind of missing out.
So the Outer Banks is a pretty sneaky good place to host a golf trip. What would your ideal golf trip look like here to the Outer Banks?
You're right. The Outer Banks has got some really good golf courses. We don't have the number of courses that some areas have, but they're good golf here. Great golf, actually. A buddy trip. Typically we see those. Thursday through Sunday, Friday through Sunday. The ideal golf trip, obviously you're coming here to play golf, so that's primary. Um, I would highly recommend including the Carolina Club and the Point on your agenda. Um, and we've got other, the other courses in the area here, over on the beach. We're over here on the mainland side, um, but over on the beach side, um, you've got Nags Head Golf Links, the Currituck Club, Seascape. Also over here on the mainland side is Kilmarnock. Any of those golf courses, you know, are good to play. So it just depends on maybe the location where your accommodations are. Our courses tend to be really popular on the travel days, with Carolina Club here being the most northern course. We get a lot of play of folks trying to hit us on the way into town on the first day, or on their way out of town, as they're heading home. So it kind of depend on where your accommodations are located. But I would say a minimum of three courses. You got to come for at least 3 rounds, hopefully 4 or more. But definitely include the Carolina Club and the Point on that itinerary.
Yes. So talk to me, what about off the course? What are your kind of recommendations? If you got people and they're asking you for stuff, what do you tell them for things to do off the golf course?
Right. Well, yeah, there is a lot to do on the Outer Banks. Obviously, we've got the beach, and I guess it depends on the time of year. If it's summer season, you got to go to the beach. But there are other things to do. Surfing, kiteboarding, sightseeing. You got the lighthouses. I'm not a lighthouse guy, but I know we've got one in Corolla. There's one down in Hatteras. You've got the Body Island Lighthouse. So a lot of people like doing things like that. We've got the Wright Brothers Memorial. A few years ago, they opened a water park here on the Outer Banks called H2 OBX. The Lost Colony is a play, an outdoor drama that I think runs during the summer season. It's down in Manio, Roanoke Island. So those are certainly things to check out as well. And if you're on a golf trip and you happen to Mother Nature isn't cooperating, we've got a local business down on the beach in Kitty Hawk that is an indoor kind of indoor sports club, if you will. They've got I think 3 simulators that you can do golf. There's soccer, there's baseball, football. Kids can play all kinds of games with. But if you're on a golf trip with your buddies and you get rained out, I mean that could be an option, an idea. I think it's called Turfs Up OBX. So there's plenty to do on the Outer Banks. The question is just how much time do you have?
Yes. So then, what about food? What's your go-to spot to eat?
Oh goodness. I don't go out a lot during the season because of the crowds. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've always since I moved here, the Black Pelican has always been one of my favorite. Their pizza is really good. It's a brick oven wood fired pizza. JK's for steak. You got to go to JK's if you want steak. The Blue Pointed Duck is really good. And then, of course, if you're golfing, especially if you're golfing with us or at our sister course, The Point, Tucker's Restaurant here in our clubhouse. Great food. They're open Wednesday through Sunday with breakfast on the weekends. The Point, we just reopened our restaurant this spring, open for lunch Wednesday through Sunday. So if you're golfing with us or at our sister course, certainly keep that in mind, because the food is excellent. It's not like your typical bar or sandwich shop. It's legit, really good food.
So I'm gonna wrap this up. One final question: what's the best word do you think to describe Carolina Club?
In one word,
Or you can give as few words as
any
possible.
words as possible. Again, I got to go back to playable. That's not good. Great conditioning and just fun. We want to have fun. The great thing about golf is that we're always chasing maybe our best round ever, right? I think that's one of the things that gets me excited But I think for other folks, that's the part of the excitement in playing golf is that you just never know when that career round's going to happen. And I think again, Carolina Club, again, we've been playable design, great conditioning, and when the conditioning is really nice and lush, it makes it easier to hit some certain shots. So fun, playable, and the conditioning.
Sweet. I love that. That is Doug Kinser. He's the director of golf here at the Carolina Club and the Point Golf Club in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Doug, thank you.
Yes, sir, Ryan. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Good having you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.